We've got to build as many cheap e-bikes as we can before the trade war with China puts a mushroom cloud on e-bike prices.
What's going on?
Okay, so we're back at it. Another year and a new e-bike made from a bike that was picked up off the side of the road. Compared to the blue one, this is a no-frills, cheap as possible build. I'm not going to be nitpicking stuff as much. This is meant to be lighter, have less power, less storage, no fenders, a bicycle for the common folk. In a post-apocalyptic landscape.
You know, you really shouldn't joke about the apocalypse.
My first build was, and still is, a daily commuter bike. 48 volt, 1000 watt motor, 20 amp hour battery. And now 2 years later, I'm looking for a downgrade.
What? Hello?
So I ended up going with a YOSE Power, 48 volt, 500 watt, 13 amp hour kit. My AW kit was not waterproof, but I put some time into making it waterproof. And now 2 years later, it's not only $50 cheaper, but all the connectors have been changed from something you would find inside a specifically not waterproof computer to waterproof.
Why the hell are you talking like that?
So this is the YOSE, or YOSE Power, or YOSE Power.
Yeah, I hear yous are real good.
So that's what you're getting in 2025, including an integrated controller, only when you get the motor with the battery, like as a combo pack. So that's a nice space saver, because controller boxes typically aren't shaped like things you would find on a bicycle. Now, before I start installing this thing, I want to test to see if it actually works. So I hooked it up and nothing happened. And then I was troubleshooting it a bit and realized that you tap the top of this LCD screen and it activates pedal assist modes 1 through 5. So I was in pedal 0, which makes it so nothing works, and when I bumped it up to 1, then the throttle starts to work. Which is the same as my other e-bike, it's just everything is done in a different way. Also, the key is not needed to turn this thing on, which is a little alarming, but that's the way it is. So you just flip a switch on the battery and then press the power button on the side of your LCD screen. A lot of the 500 watt kits don't come with tires on the wheel, so we're off to a slower start compared to last time. I guess it gives me a chance to try out a new type of street tire, new to me anyways. Not a big fan of this new folding tire technology, on the grounds that it just seems wrong. Yeah, it makes it cheaper to ship, but it's pretty unappealing when these are unfolded. Or even just looking at them folded is kind of disgusting. Maybe it's much to do about nothing, but I do wonder how these will handle flats. Do they distort and come off the rim? Because I've had some flats on my e-bike and it sucks, but I can still ride home on a flat, so we'll see. So this is a scrap of old tube, and it might be superstition, but I always do this with my e-bike tires to take some load off the stem. Now, I'm just a humble bicyclist. I may not wear the shorts, but I do ride the bikes most regularly. And prior to recently, I had no idea what the difference was between a cassette and a Freewheel Sprocket.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of 500-watt kits don't come with sprockets. I was perusing the internet and people were saying cassettes are better and they were most common on bikes from the 90s and forward, so I figured I must have an extra one. Well, I
don't have any.
And really what it comes down to is that getting the cassette version of this motor is kind of contrary to the simplest, cheapest, most straightforward, whatever vision I have for this bike, as a cassette is typically 7 gears or more, and Freewheel is 7 gears or less. So on this setup, 3 in the front and 7 in the back, it's a little bougie, but whatever. There's a lot of things that are tolerable when you're doing things quick and dirty. On top of that, the listing I was looking at was $410 for cassette and $420 for Freewheel. But then the exact same product exists in another listing where both of them are $405. It's not like I even saved money by going with the cassette. So at the end of the day, I ended up spending $15 to $20 more than I could have by going with the cassette.
What's the big deal?
No big deal.
Oh, I don't have any money.
And really, here's the good thing about having to buy a sprocket, is that you could pick your gearing. I wish I had paid more attention to that. I would have gone with something that was 11 teeth at the highest gear and not 12, but it's still better gearing than my other e-bike. So maybe that's something I'll work on. Not with this bike. Again, cheap and quick. Yeah, I already bought it. So if you're not sure what you have, and it can be hard to tell when it's on the wheel, a Freewheel screws on with threads, and it mounts like this. A cassette has a retainer that holds it on. So really, look for that retainer. If you can see that on the wheel, that's the general giveaway. Also, a Freewheel has the clicky thing that makes it so the pedals don't move when you're coasting, built into the sprocket pack. With a cassette, you're just getting a pile of sprockets. And the clicky thing is built into the axle. Obviously, you can't tell that until you take it off, but that's the difference. And the whole, more gears on a cassette thing. For putting on the sprocket, there's a key notch that is bigger than the rest, so you have to line those up. And to get on the retainer, you have to take off the axle nut and torque washer. I have a matching front tire, but for now I'm using the original front tire from my first e-bike because it still holds air. The original wheel I took off this bike has some bent spokes and it's really rusty. instructions are very brief about this part, but it's assumed that you can mount the battery where the water bottle goes. Otherwise, this is the hardest thing to do. I gather this plate is like a clumsy adapter, but it's never mentioned in the manual. Plus, I don't have room to mount the battery where the water bottle is, cause this is a step-through frame. Also, the battery has 3 mounting points, and the water bottles only have 2, so I'm tapping my own screw holes no matter what. Now, anybody who knows anything about tapping knows that if you can't find that little hand tool for screwing in the tap, you just use an electric drill. It's better, it's faster, you want to thread it so that it lasts a lifetime, but you don't want to take a lifetime, ain't nobody got time. And I know I'm not going to thread the 3rd hole because the drill can't come in at a straight angle. Not if I want to keep the battery as low as possible, so I'm drilling all the way through and using a long bolt with a nut and a lock washer that may not even work in this situation, but I'm using thread locker also. Plus, I'm doing a dirty hack. The hole that goes through the bottom is a step smaller than the one on top. It's the size I drilled out for threading the other holes. I'm coming up from the bottom with the wider bit, but not going all the way. So when I put the bolt in, it kind of threads. Just give it a little grip so it can't fall out. I mean, I'm gonna be checking this a lot to make sure things are staying tight. After a while, when I know everything is working, I'll hacksaw the stem of that bolt shorter.
Let's enable the missiles. Program flight
So
switch.
congratulations on making it through the hardest part. And now we're going to do what might actually be the hardest part. It really depends. Every bike is different. They both could be the hardest thing that you ever have to deal with in your life. I don't know. I've done the pedal assist before, so it's fairly straightforward to me. It really depends. Every bike is different. Newer bikes use an Allen wrench to remove the left pedal, but anything from the 90s is going to have what seems most likely to be a 14mm nut that will require some hammering to get it loose. So that's just getting the nut off. And then the pedal arm is probably going to be stuck on there, and then do the crank arm puller thing, which is where you thread into where the pedal mount is, and then you're screwing in a little pusher thing that will push into the bike and pull the arm away from the bike. And that's how that works. Now this is where it becomes a choose your own adventure. I am choosing to do this the same way I did it last time, which is to JB weld the sensor to the left side of the bike. This isn't the exact same sensor I used last time, but it's like 99% the same. Even up to the unpredictable rotation behavior, this is probably meant to be mounted on the right side of the bike like the other one I have. But from my perspective on this bike, there seems to be more room on the left side, and it doesn't require me to take apart a bunch of other things that are probably kind of stuck and won't be fun to take apart. This is what it looks like if you keep heading down the path they probably want you to take. This is what it looks like if you keep heading down the recommended path. It's not my recommendation, it's theirs. And I'm sure it's not as easy as they make it look, but at the same time, if you're using a relatively new bike, I doubt things will be as tough to take apart. So before I permanently attach this to the bike, I want to make sure I know which direction everything works in. Which is always the opposite of what you'd expect. The direction of the disc, the arrows are always going in the reverse direction. But again, I'm mounting it on the left side, so whatever, if I were to figure it out for the right side, it maybe would go in the right direction and it would make sense. Now, last time I bought my own pedal assist sensor and used the crappy pedal assist sensor that came with my kit as a clamp for holding the new pedal assist sensor in place. But I can't find my old pedal assist sensor, which, by the way, they updated that kit to use a better pedal sensor.
Okay, well that's
whatever,
that's
man.
fantastic.
That's great.
So I had to make a new clamp out of scrap parts I have. This is where being a hoarder of random things that you may or may not ever use comes in handy.
Used guys. Shut up, used.
So I'm combining these two random pieces of useful junk together by pressing them into each other. Gonna clean and sand and clean the surface so it has a little bit of grittiness to it for sticking. Last time I was very cautious about the power of JB Weld and wore gloves. I've become more lackadaisical about the whole thing. It's probably not good for it to touch your skin, but it's not like it instantly adheres like crazy glue does. So it does wash off pretty easy after you're done. So I'm just gonna layer it onto where it's gonna mount to. I don't wanna put it on both sides, because if I have trouble lining it up, I don't want to get it all over the place. The larger brass thing will press up against just the pedal assist mount, and the silvery thing works as a spacer for this flat thing to press up against. I'm making a series of smaller holes. I need the flat thing to have the smallest hole so that the bolt can hold it down. It's basically like a huge washer. I'm gonna leave it clamped for a couple days just cause, you know, being thorough or whatever. I think it really only requires 24 hours. So whichever way you choose to do it, it's up to you. And I was able to clean the rust off the chain with some steel wool. This may be no frills, but I'm never riding no bike without a mirror. More important than a light, you know, you need it all the time. But a light is also very important to me. I do a lot of night riding. I want to keep my water bottle holder so this storage triangle won't fit here. I already have this underseat storage thing. I have another one that I use. I put it in my pannier bags. It's kind of like a biker's purse. It's nice because you don't have to take the things out of the storage. You just take the storage with you. So this took me about 8 hours. from kitchen disassembly to roadworthiness. Obviously, there's a lot of in-between time. I don't know if you really know what you're doing and you have everything ready, you're still not going to do. You're not going to do it in 8 hours straight because you got to JB weld the thing on, and that's going to take you a couple days of nothing happening. But you get my point. Like, if you do it again and again, you could probably get really efficient at building e-bikes. And it costs about $525, not including the value of the things I already had. Buying a mirror, buying a light, buying the tires. By comparison, my other e-bike cost like $850 to build. And who knows how long it took. It took way longer. I can't even fathom tracking that. So this was a lot quicker than my last build. Maybe it's because I knew what to expect. It also comes with a lot of the tools you may need. So I'm not wasting my time ordering something or looking for a particular Allen wrench. Maybe because it's very stripped down compared to everything I added last time. I wasn't doing as much modifications. So we'll see, I'll be comparing the difference between the rear wheel drive and front wheel drive. I feel like a rear tire is definitely going to be more of a pain to get on and off if I have to change the tire. I do have the matching front tire, so if this mountain bike tire goes or feels too cumbersome, I'll switch it out. Gotta save something for the 1,000-mile update video, but the point is it's up and running. And we'll see what happens to the price of e-bike kits in the year 2025.
Good day to use?
Good day to use.
Huh?
We've all been humiliated. Our asses are destroyed.